Okay, good morning, Burke. It's 10 minutes to 12 on the 17th of October. A lovely wet day, and this is our 48th session.
Hard to believe. Yet, in a lifetime, 48 hours, or how many hours we put in, maybe 50, is not really very much.
No, but we've captured some good stuff.
Yeah.
And we started almost a year ago.
Is it really?
Well, that's over 48.
Yeah. Okay. Well, David, there's always too much to talk about.
Good.
I'll just make some observations. You mentioned the Jewish statement, noch einmal,
which means
again.
Again, once
right?
more, not again.
Again, noch einmal, once more, not again.
It's sort of negative. It doesn't have a negative connotation.
No, it depends on the inflection. Noch einmal, ich will dir sagen, another time, I want to tell you again. It doesn't necessarily, but noch einmal, the inflection, I guess like in Chinese, a different way you pronounce something, the word means something different. So, when I'm making my journal, I find that I'm very repetitive, and I don't stop myself. It's important to have free thinking, so I just put in brackets again.
Yes.
And what's striking me, despite the fact the length of time and I've been on this and we've been on it together, what strikes me is how we've really chanced on something of extreme importance. And you say, well, look at all the time, effort, and my journals and everything else. Obviously, I've been convinced, but have I really been? Underneath and certainly subconsciously, I've been driven. But thinking back, and when I set myself a goal as a youngster to get financially free so I could find lawfulness in human behavior to emulate the success of physics. And despite the naivety of thinking that I could do it, I chanced on it. In other words, I went on a route that said, I want to find the secret to wealth, and I went through a process which we've talked about before and we'll talk about again. But then I could perceive what was happening in an idealized game of chance depicted by this device. And once I saw that, that was the equivalent to Einstein's statement of the happiest thought in his life, because once I see this, I'm like a super being flying over what's happening and watching what's happening in this world, and then coming back and trying to live in this world, applying what I saw above.
Right.
And that alone, regardless of whether I'm right or not, is the most probable characteristic of any major breakthrough in social science that will emulate the success of physics. I can't overemphasize that. There are two aspects to what we're doing. Is the probable characteristics and consequences of a breakthrough, and the other is the breakthrough there, the validity, and they're two separate things. Whether and what is not discussed in the literature, as far as I can tell, is what are the probable characteristics of a breakthrough, and what are the consequences. Not that some people don't touch on it here and there.
Yes.
But and what has been of major value, and that I'm trying to pass on to the next generation and have them experience, because they won't see it unless they experience it, is I've experienced the consequences of believing that I've chanced upon laws of behavior that are comparable to the laws that exist in physics. And of course, this is now coming to the forefront with the econophysicists. It isn't that it hasn't been there, both in Steindl and Simon,
pieces of it,
Aitchison and Brown,
but only pieces of it, not the whole.
No movement.
Yeah.
It's like drops, drops here. And of course, I was lucky enough to find the drops to reinforce For instance, when I found Steindel's book on random processes and the growth of firms, and I found that he could predict the life expectancy of companies over 10.5 years, you know, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And still, he didn't recognize the complete importance, and to this day, it's not completely recognized. So what I want to emphasize is that there is an aspect here, regardless of the validity of what we believe, that is likely highly certain. You know, I'm always hesitant to say anything is highly certain, but I do believe that any breakthrough in our knowledge of human behavior to emulate what's in physics will defy common sense, will be abstract, most probably will be accessible to us through mathematical patterns and computer simulation, and will be paradoxical in that it will be acausal, because there's a pattern, the same way as we could ask, what caused the circle? We can't answer that. What caused the sphere? We don't ask often those questions. Well,
we can make them, we can duplicate them, but
we don't know
where they came from in the first place,
no,
how those shapes evolved in the first place, we don't know, like
no,
gravity.
No, and do we ever ask? We just take it for granted. Well, the fact that a pattern exists, not common sense, we now have to live. That is a causal land, which is real perhaps when we're there, and we come back and we're living in causal land. We've been brought up, we've been conditioned in causal land. So how in the world does the person who